ultra-Orthodox Jews are being criticized in Israel right now because of an attack they did on 3 different buses. They went and blocked all buses and then proceeded to smash the windows with a small hammer. The reason why they did that is because there was an incident that occurred on one bus where an ultra-Orthodox couple asked a woman that was sitting at the front of the bus to get up and move to the back of the bus. Now, there are no laws indicating that that needs to happen. If someone does decide to do that, it's entirely voluntary. But of course, within the ultra-Orthodox religion, they believe that men and women should be segregated. They should not be around one another unless they're husband and wife. So the interesting part of this story is the woman agreed. She said that she would move to the back of the bus. However, the bus driver was very unhappy about this, and he called authorities, and authorities proceeded to arrest the ultra-Orthodox couple. Now, that pissed off the Orthodox community, and as a result, they attacked those 3 buses and smashed the windows.
Yeah, not just with small hammers, which I'm amused by. Like, large hammer seems a bit much. Let's just go with small hammers for a small statement.
They also used stones.
And they also threw stones as well. Look, this is what I say all the time. Fundamentalists of all the religions are nuts, and you don't want to sit next to women. All right, great. I mean, that's your problem, and you're going to live a fairly miserable life. But have at it, Hoss. Go crazy. But who I sit next to is none of your goddamn business, literally. Okay? So go ahead and kindly piss off. And so it's secular Jews in this case who are annoyed by the fundamentalist Jews, as secular Christians oftentimes here in America are pissed off at the fundamentalist Christians, and in the Muslim world, secular Muslims are deathly afraid of the fundamentalist Muslims. And it goes on around and around. Now, what's interesting is one of the rabbis wanted to pass around a note saying, hey, let's not, violence keeps breaking out. In one case, they were attacked a mom who was trying to buy a baby carriage. She had to be rescued by other Haredi women, so that's good. Okay, the ultra-Orthodox women helped her and saved her, right?
What were they going to do to her?
They were physically, violently attacking her.
Yeah, there was a case that we reported on months ago where these little schoolgirls weren't dressed modestly enough for the ultra-Orthodox community, and as a result, the men were spitting at them, throwing rocks at them, and calling them whores. These are school kids, little girls.
So, and they're fellow Jews, and they're sort of spitting on fellow Jews and calling them whores, little girls. And then the baby carriage incident was another incident. So, and in the military, some violence is breaking out between the ultra-Orthodox and the seculars. So they got to get a handle on this, right? And so one of the rabbis says, okay, great, let's at least send around a letter and get all the ultra-Orthodox rabbis to say, let's not do violence. They wouldn't sign it.
Wow.
They wouldn't sign it. And one explanation is a guy who wrote, to my mind, this is like demanding that every Italian condemn bank robbery after the mafia pulls off a job, that every Russian condemn murder after the Russian mafia has someone killed, or like demanding that all Muslims apologize for all bombings ever done by any Muslim. Oh, he didn't say that. That's weird. Huh. Here in America, and certainly in Israel from time to time, whenever there's any bombings by a Muslim, people are like, go Muslims! All Muslims have to apologize. They didn't condemn it strongly enough. Which is not true. Actually, we've read on the show over and over, the largest Muslim American group constantly condemns the bombings every single time over and over again. But here in this case, they have an opportunity to condemn the violence, which they obviously shouldn't. They go, we're going to take a pass. And one of the theories is that they're also afraid of the people doing the violence. And they're afraid of losing support within the community if they condone the violence. But I don't care what your reason is. It's atrocious either way. And it obviously gives a green light to people when you say, no, I'm your rabbi, and I won't sign off on nonviolence.
What's really interesting is, when it comes to religious fundamentalists in other countries, specifically, Muslim fundamentalists, the U.S. always gets involved, and the U.S. says, this is wrong, the treatment of women is wrong, and there's always some sort of intervention. But it's really curious that the U.S. hasn't really said anything about this, because this is violent. You can't attack little girls and throw stones at them, call them whores. I mean, this is how it starts off, but is it going to evolve into something even more violent? Obviously, they're totally totally fine with smashing windows in a bus that is completely full of women and children, by the way.
So, I don't think the U.S. should get involved
They shouldn't.
Hold on.
But they're picky. That's the thing that's
No,
interesting.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't get involved in internal Israeli politics. But the flip side is we have stayed in Afghanistan for over a decade, and anytime you ask people, they say, the violence against women that Muslim fundamentalists do, that's why we have to stay there to protect the women. But wait a minute, we're in the middle of a giant war which we will not leave because you say, oh, I'm so concerned about women. So yeah, they're wildly hypocritical about this. And why have they not condemned it? Right? Every time there's no call for condemnation, etc.
Well,
and the reality is they're all the same. The Muslim fundamentalists and the Jewish fundamentalists are the same. They don't want women to get educated. That's what their real problem is. Because then you wouldn't believe their stupid-ass voodoo.
So fundamentalism is a problem with your brain, right? Like, you're born that way. I'm sure if they could put a dye into your brain and you saw a pregnant woman walk by, a certain part of their brain would light up. That's fucked up, right? Mm-hmm. Is that
a lot of it has to do with propaganda, brainwashing. I mean, I don't think that they're born that way.
No?
It can't be a genetic thing because the people who are born in that community wind up obviously much, much, much more likely to be fundamentalists, right? And so some people are converts, which watch out for those guys. Okay.
Yo.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like when a grown-up becomes Catholic.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Who's a later in life convert is Glenn Beck. He converted to being a Mormon of all things, like later in life, and so he's the zeal of the converted and etc. But no, I mean Anna's right. It's the brainwashing. Like, oh yeah, you got to believe this, and if you have the funny hair and the funny hat and the funny Russian clothes from the the 1800s, then God and Yahweh will freaking love you. And if you hate women being empowered or having their own lives or getting an education or ever showing any kind of skin, yes, then Yahweh will love you. And if a kid's taught that his whole life, I taught my kid to eat with a fork and knife. He's going to eat with a fork and knife because that's what I told him his whole life. Mm-hmm. That's what the whole community around him told him. So the whole community tells him this. And that's why I think they're poisoning their kids. I feel sick for what's happening to their kids.